Hey there. I just got back from the gym. I have been really good this year. Or I should say 3 or 4 months of like really consistently going to the gym. And I wasn't able to go last week because I was sick. I was confined to my room with a stuffy or runny nose. There was no in between. It was either clogged like a disgusting toilet or just running like a river, and had horrible brain fog. Felt like I was under the influence of some expensive substances, but without any of the fun. And yeah, it felt weird not going last week. I'm glad I'm at the point where it feels weirder the weeks where I don't go. But yeah, just got back in, did a nice little 2-hour session. And one thing that I realized today is that my gym anxiety is just gone. Gym anxiety is really just the concern over whether or not I deserve to actually be in the gym. And I think that's something that almost everybody who's ever set foot in a gym has experienced at one point or another. Maybe some experienced people who have been going there far longer than I have still experience. I don't know, but I have really not struggled with that. And I didn't realize that for a long time, because when a problem isn't plaguing you, you just don't realize it. It's just not a thing on your mind. And then you just wake up one day and you're like, hey, remember when it really stressed me out to like be in a place where, my body could potentially be scrutinized, my physical abilities could potentially be scrutinized? It's nice to realize that. And at the same time, it's like, cool, now I'm just me. And I was already me before, but hey. I think a big thing that's helped me is remembering that nobody's really judging me. I mean, the only people that I feel like would have any right to judge me in a gym are like these big, bulky, super strong, great technique kind of guys. But the thing is, every single one of those guys has been me at one point. No, nobody's just born a beefcake. Everybody who has gotten to any level of competency in anything has been at my place before of being far less competent than that. And I'm not even bottom of the barrel, but, I'm only a little bit above the bottom of the barrel. I've been doing it just long enough to feel like I have some cemented foundation in there. But yeah, nobody's judging me because they've been me before. If anything, ideally, people are happy that other people are partaking in this thing that they have any interest in. I know that's an ideal, so not always the case, but that's just how I try to look at it. The only people who have any right to judge me aren't judging me because they've been in my position. But, even more than that, we can push it to remembering nobody cares about you. That can be hard to hear sometimes, and sometimes you need to convince yourself otherwise. But it can actually be very liberating to realize how little anybody is paying attention to you. Everybody is focused on themselves. Nobody's paying attention to the size of my biceps because they're looking at their own biceps in the mirror. And they're probably racked with some amount of gym anxiety, even when I'm not, which is weird to think about. There's a guy in the gym who's a lot more muscular and more aesthetically pleasing than I am, who is more anxious about how he's being perceived than I am, at least in that regard. That is really weird to think about. But yeah, super huge relief to realize everybody's only thinking about themselves. And I'm really, really happy that I've moved away from ego lifting, trying to lift just absolutely as much as possible before I feel like I'm just falling apart, including putting on way too much weight and then having to compensate, like if I'm doing a bicep curl, having to compensate by using my shoulder or my back to fully like lift it up. It just, you see it and you cringe a little bit, and I try not to do it in a judgmental way, but when I see people doing that, I'm just like, dude, just chill, okay? It's okay. And ego lifting will mess you up quickly, very, very, very quickly. And, it's easy to ignore until it isn't, until you've like messed yourself up beyond repair, which I feel like I was on the path to doing last year. I never quite got to that point, but I definitely was pushing myself too hard for the sake of trying to see some aesthetic differences more quickly. I've gone to just lifting tiny weights because, first of all, the real freedom to lifting tiny weights, or just significantly below what I know I could do to absolutely max out my muscles. Part of the reason why that makes me feel good is that it got me used to looking what I perceived as weak in front of people. That's our biggest fear, is that we're going to look not strong enough at the gym. So it got me used to being like, hey, yeah, look at me. I'm lifting these tiny weights. I'm using really good form and making sure that I'm only putting strain on the muscle that I mean to put strain on. But, you know, I'm not the strongest one here. And as soon as you just say that, as soon as you just admit that to yourself and quietly admit that to everybody around you, there's no fear of being found out. Like, there's no fear of people realizing that you're not the strongest person there. Like, yeah, you're right. That's one of the greatest ways to disable intrusive thoughts, is just to agree with them to some degree. Like, yeah, you're right. Okay, cool. But also, you know, just lifting those tiny weights, it pushes you just enough. That's how I feel. At least that's my philosophy, because I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not showing off at a show anytime soon. I'm just trying to keep my nervous system trained, you know, be in the habit. My friend who's a bodybuilder, or weightlifter, I should say, he says that he thinks it takes about a year of consistency for there to really be the mind-muscle connection. And I think that that's pretty much true. And I feel like I'm like just about there, and maybe I am there. But I just don't want to feel like I'm there, because I really want to stress that importance of doing just light weights, but just using a whole lot of presence of mind and good form on them. Science has shown that your muscles are very use it or lose it. And the thing is, that doesn't mean use it ridiculous amounts or lose it. It just means use it consistently. And then by the time that I'm an old man, I'm still going to have a little, look at something there. And of course, it's not important, but like, if we are doing this sort of comparison game with people at large, if I go into the gym and I lift just like a little bit of weight, push myself just a little bit, I'm still better than everybody who didn't go today, if I am going to use that hierarchy sort of thinking. Are you really going to tell me that, you know, working for an hour and a half, 2 hours with just weights that'll more just keep me conditioned and maintained than like actually blow me up, is that really worse than not going to the gym at all? I feel like I'm sounding overly defensive. I'm talking to myself when I say all this. I'm preempting all the criticism I'm going to give to myself for all this. Both with the gym and with anything else that I do. I made a video about this at the beginning of the year. It's all just about me just trying to claim my quiet corner, where it isn't about showing off, and it isn't about getting everybody's attention, and, you know, it's just about me saying, hey, I have the right to be here. I have the right to be in this gym, and I have the right to exist. I have the right to be on this planet. There's a great book called The 7 Pillars of Self-Esteem. No, it's the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. And he said one thing that you need, like the foundational affirmation for self-esteem, is I have the right to exist. I have the right to be here. I have the right to be. And I just want to claim my little section of life in a way that doesn't have to impose on other people. If it does impose, I want it to be in a positive way, of course. Also, the big thing about my gym routine is that I'm doing it my way. And I'm doing it cheap. I have a very, very, very cheap gym membership. And I've paid for training in the past, on and off. It was hard to commit to, hard to make schedules sync up and all this stuff. But more than anything, it's just like, you don't have to pay a whole lot to get into a mind state, a body state, a life state that you want. Some level of investment is important. But I'm frustrated by how everything gets turned into an industry sometimes. And I am happy for the fact that my body moves. It pushes itself. It constantly evolves and shifts and changes complexity all on its own, without having to pay an exorbitant amount. Every single day I'm changing, even when I'm not consciously aware of it.